Guys, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. You know, guys, as we get up there in age, into our elderly years, a lot of us sometimes think about which way it is going to be when we wind up departing from this earth through death. And I don't think anybody would think that this is the way you want to go out or you will go out. What I'm about to tell you is absolutely horrible, ladies and gentlemen. Man, this man, rest in peace, who's not named. But this story right here is rough, and you'll see it with the details. The story I'm talking about is out of Bartow, Florida. Shout out Bartow. And it's about an 81-year-old man that was in a group home that was stabbed 113 times in his bed where he slept. He was stabbed by a guy, which you will see a picture of because they ain't put his picture out yet, that's mentally ill and was admitted into the group home. And he was only there a few hours before doing this. And then on top of that, this guy has been Baker acted multiple times this year and last year. And he was dropped off by his mom at this group home where they sent him. And all hell broke loose. I want you guys to take a look at this, man. Just look, y'all. It's brace yourself.
When you're 2 houses down and you're like, okay, so do we have to be worried about what might happen to us?
In a briefing Sunday afternoon, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says Bartow police responded to an independent group home for a murder investigation. He says detectives found an 81-year-old man dead inside, and he was last seen alive Saturday night.
What we know is he died a violent death. We're not releasing any specific details because it's much too early.
The sheriff's office says this group home on Bluebird Avenue is owned by ET Care, and there were 3 other residents living there at the time.
They're not troublemakers. So, it's like, wow, an older gentleman like that, and why would someone want to hurt him, so I'm concerned.
Gary Schuneman has lived here for about 9 years and says nothing like this has ever happened here before.
It's sad, it's very upsetting that something like that could happen in your neighborhood, so close to home.
Okay, guys, you heard that. Now I'm going to show you the press conference with Sheriff Grady Judd, where he goes into vivid detail about what this guy did, his thought process, and what he did after he took this 81-year-old man's life. This is absolutely horrific. And I want you to look at the mindset this guy had after committing such an atrocity. Crazy or not, he'd be gone if it was up to me. Take a look.
County Sheriff Grady Judd says that his office is helping the Bartow Police Department investigate what they're calling a violent death inside that house in a neighborhood. First responders found the victim there, an 81-year-old man, dead this morning at that independent group living home. 3 other people also lived in the home that was owned by ET Care. Judd says the man was last seen on Saturday evening. He is expected to hold a press conference. Looking around right now.
In fact, it looks like
did he just start it?
He has begun to speak here, so let's go ahead and listen in.
Of age. And here's what we know. The police department initially got everybody together in the living room. They notified us and said, hey, we've got a murder investigation, and this is really strange because it's at if you will, an independent care facility. So when we arrived, we found that Moses Ojeda ultimately was our culprit. We took him into custody, and we learned this. In 2025, he's been Baker acted 6 different times. And on this occasion, he was sent, once he was released from the Baker Act, and he was in the Baker Act facility about 2 weeks, he was sent to this care facility. Now, I want you to understand that this is independent living, so there's no direct supervision of this person. So he arrived there at about 6:45 in the evening. At about 11:45 in the evening, or about 5 hours later, he stabbed our victim to death. He stabbed our victim 113 times. And when we asked him during the interview, he confessed why he stabbed him 113 times. He said the knife wasn't very sharp. We saw there were 4 or 5 deep wounds, and then, as you can imagine, just dozens and dozens of wounds that weren't so deep. We also noticed that our victim had defensive wounds on him. So during the confession, we said, Moses, why did you stab this victim? He said, well, voices in my head told me to kill him. And so you stabbed him. What was he doing at the time? Oh, he was sleeping, but he woke up. And when he woke up, our victim said, why do you want to stab me? And he said, I just do. When we ask our suspect, Moses, do you regret stabbing the victim? He said, I live my life with no regrets. So let me focus on this a minute. When he was dropped off at this facility by his mother told the people who owned the care facility, you've got to hide the knives. And they did. They put the knives in an undisclosed location, but Moses found them. And within 5 hours of arriving at the facility, stabbed and killed our 81-year-old victim. Now, here's what's important to understand. That upon further questioning, Moses said, oh, our victim was a good guy. He said, I just had to do what I had to do. We asked, did he fight with you? Did you have an argument during the evening before the suspect or the victim went to sleep? And he said, no, not at all. I just heard voices that told me to kill him. So he stabbed him ultimately 113 times. Moses has been diagnosed with ADHD, bipolar, paranoid schizophrenic, autism, anxiety, and sudden outburst of rage. And guess what? He doesn't have any criminal history. Now, he was Baker Acted 6 times this year, and he has committed what appears to be domestic battery violence against his mother. But his mother was protective of him, and she wanted to get him help. And she really meant well and went above and beyond to help him. But at the end of the night, he was violent, and he was dangerous, and he murdered this person. Okay, so what happened after the murder? Well, Moses said that he went to the victim's bathroom, where he washed the knife and cleaned it up, where he washed the blood off of himself. He then replaced the knife in the butcher block, where it was originally placed out of sight. Then he went to his room and he took off a cover that he was wearing. I believe it was like a hoodie that had blood on it, and put it in his hamper. And then he changed his shoes, which had blood on them, and they were still in his room. Then he woke up the next morning. He turned off the light and closed the victim's door, because that's normally how the victim was. Now understand that the victim normally didn't eat breakfast, so they didn't become concerned about him until lunchtime. And that's when they found him. Well, in fact, he'd been dead about 12 hours by that time. So our suspect wakes up the next morning after a good night's sleep, after stabbing our victim to death. He eats breakfast, he watches a little television, he hangs out, and he is still there when 911 is dialed and the Bartow police officers arrive and detain everyone. This is a freaky event. It's a dangerous event. In fact, the owners of this facility, this care facility, said that during the evening, apparently Moses was wandering around in the neighborhood and went to go back into the house but forgot the door code. So they let him back into the home. And they had made up their mind from their interaction just through the evening and the next morning that, hey, we're going to have to take him back to his mother, that he needs far more attention than we can give him in this independent living facility. I appreciate the good work that the Bartow Police Department did with us. We work hand in glove, and that's the way we do in this business. I asked the captain if he wanted to speak. He said, no, I'll just stand up and let you do all the talking, Sheriff. So I want to leave you with this picture. This is the murder weapon. As you see, the tip of the knife is broken off. We're still looking for the tip of the knife. We don't know if it was broken off before. But that was one of the reasons he said he had a hard time stabbing him, because the knife wasn't very sharp. But was he violent? Yes. Was he dangerous? Yes. And ultimately, he murdered an 81-year-old man who was simply sleeping in his bed.